Thank you, everybody, for that warm and kind of forced clap. I appreciate it. Thank you all for coming out on a Monday night. That is not easy. Give yourself a round of applause. I don't want to harp on it, but I think if Monday was a person, none of us would invite him to shit. I think that's safe to say. If he was walking on the street, we'd be like, oh, fuck, here's Monday. I'll make eye contact. My name is Dan Walsh. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I moved here a little while ago. St. Louis is in the Midwest, in case you don't know. And I moved here in the most Midwest way possible. I was just like, no, I got to do it, man. I got to do it. No hesitations. And then I got my apartment and everything online and on the phone without ever coming to see it, just trusting that the guy I was talking to was doing the right thing because people are fucking honest, right, guys? But I did it, and I called, and I remember at one point, it was in Koreatown. That was my apartment. And I told the guy on the phone, I was like, listen, I've heard this thing about LA where the parking's pretty bad. Like, is the parking okay? Like, can you? And he goes, yeah, no, bro, no problem. No problem. And that was my first introduction to the language barrier in LA. Because apparently no problem means it does not fucking exist at all. I think parking in Koreatown is like Sasquatch. Like, people talk about it, but have any of us really seen it? Just to let you know, I lived on, just to give you, I lived on 6th in Serrano and Wilshire, which means I had to park in San Diego. It's pretty rough. I moved out here after 14 years of being a professional wrestler. Now, when I say this, guys, I'm not being a douchebag about it. Like, I'm not saying, like, I'm a professional wrestler, so if you fight me, I'm gonna kick your ass. But what I'm saying is I was a professional wrestler. So if you fight me, I'm gonna make that shit look really good, all right? We're gonna go through some tables. I'm gonna make you a star. People used to ask me about the pro wrestling industry. They'd be like, what's the craziest thing, man? What's the craziest thing about pro wrestling? And I had to tell them, I was like, the craziest thing is that there's homophobia in the professional wrestling industry, which is insane if we all just stop for a second and think of what exactly goes on in professional wrestling. Like, I walked into a show one time, and I had a new gear bag. Like, it was pretty durable and tough looking, but it happened to be teal. And the guy that I was wrestling just yelled across the locker room. He's like, Walsh, that bag is the gayest thing ever. And I got confused. I was like, it's the bag? Like, it's not the fact that you and I are going to strip down into little underwears and black leather boots, lube each other up with baby oil, and then roll around with one another for money. Like, that's not the gay part? It's the bag? Then I had to remind him that what we do out there is like one wardrobe malfunction shy of a really aggressive man-on-man porno. Like, don't get me wrong, like, professional wrestling it's tough. It takes a lot of skill. It hurts, much like I assume gay porno does. But I think if you show up to your job in a feather boa and sparkling pants, maybe you shouldn't be commenting on people's sexuality. Just a thought. So everybody doing good? Everybody, what's going on here? You guys don't have drinks or anything? They're coming? Okay. I assume this is what a parole hearing feels like. Everybody's like, I'm glad you're here. But like, everyone's just staring and there's no drink. And I'm like, listen, I'm really sorry. I'll never do it again. Kind of a crazy thing I just want to talk about. It was I was reading about the Berlin Wall today. Is everybody familiar with? I love the look that I'm getting. Some people are like, there's two things going on right now. I'd be like, Berlin Wall? Wow, this guy is really fucking current and topical. And then some of you are looking at me like, you read? In case you're not familiar, the Berlin Wall is a wall put right in the middle of Germany to divide two separate kinds of way of thinking. And like, when they constructed that and it was finished in 1961, whatever side you were on, you stayed on that side. And if you had family on the other side, tough shit. You don't get to see them. It's over. You don't get to see him. And it was just done. One night you come out, that's how it was. And it had to be terrifying. It had to be horrible. Probably the worst day in most people's lives. But I got to thinking, I was like, there's at least one dude who came out of his job and went to go home. And there's a wall where the street used to be. And he can't get through it. And he's like, what's going on? And they're like, you can't go home. And I just can't go home. He's like, yeah, you can. And he's like, but sir, you mean to tell me that I can't go home to my wife of 25 years? I'll never get to see her again? And he's like, that's it, the slim skinny of it. And the guy was like, this is the greatest day of my life. I love communism or whatever we're doing over here. I love it. Are we allowed to do religion? Because I've never been more sure that there's a God than right. What had to be awkward, though, was like 30 years later when that wall came down and he bumped into his wife. Because she was pissed. Like, there's no women, you don't take that stuff laying down. You can't be bullshit. Don't give me no wall. When he bumped into her, it was really awkward. He's like, oh, Elsa, how are you? She's like, where were you, Dieter? And he's like, the wall. She's like, fuck the wall. Do you remember what you told me on our wedding night? Your vows? And he was like, yes, I do. I said there was no mountain high enough. No valley low enough. No river wide enough. But Elsa, I never said anything about uns wall not being strong enough. That was just something I was thinking about. That's cool. Was I the only one? The only one that thinks about that? No one goes home and they're like, oh, dude, let's look up into shit that happened like 4 years ago. So everybody, you guys are drinking. That's cool. Having good? Feeling good? Knees warm right now? It's good. I haven't had a drink in 10 years. Yeah, 10 years. And people always assume that it's because I had a drinking problem. And that is incorrect. I had no problem with drinking. It was one of my favorite things to do, ever. I just found out that my parents, after 37 years of marriage, they're calling it quits, guys. They're done. And I couldn't be more happy about it. And I think when you're a kid and your parents are getting divorced, that like scars you. But when you're an adult and you've lived the life that they've lived, you're like, fucking thank God. Like, we were about to put you in the backyard and make you fight it out. Like, there was 2 times in their lives. I tried to look back to the good times. There was the times they were fighting, and there was times they were too tired to fight. To let you know how bad it was, we had a parrot growing up. And if you guys ever had a parrot, they repeat phrases they hear the most. And our parrot said 3 things. It was, uh-oh, pretty bird, and I want a divorce. Guys, that's all my time. Thank you very much. Enjoy your headliner. Have a great evening.